together key players in common goals for opportunities. What that means is like last year was just a start. This year we revisit and we have a lot of great guests. We want to thank the Nordisk Fund to be here today and also the embassies of India and Denmark. And we especially want to thank TechBBQ for making the beginnings of an India-Nordic bridge. So just a few facts, and I know many in this room will already know this, but India, with a population of 1.5 billion people, is the fourth largest economy in the world. It's also the most populous country, even surpassing China, which is not necessarily common knowledge. And it's set to overtake Japan in GDP. That's just a few impressive numbers. The Nordics, on the other hand, is a population of only 28 million people, but the 10th largest economy still, and it combines small-scale innovation and extraordinary wealth, and enjoying some of the highest GDP per capita. So those are just some numbers for you to remember as we have this conversation, and why this match is interesting. So today, what we want to talk about is that a conversation can be rather vast between India and the Nordics, but we want to focus on the startup ecosystem and identify frameworks and actionable models to cultivate sustainable collaboration between the two regions. So we want to talk about capital flow, we want to talk about co-innovation and regulatory alignment, as well as talent mobility. And those are a lot of different themes. So let me introduce to you Mr. Søren Møllegaard from Novo Nordisk Fund. He is the Chief Portfolio Officer. And then Ambassador Rasmus Evergaard Christensen from the Embassy to India. And then also Mr. Ashish Kumar Singh Araya, he's counselor at the Indian Embassy. So I'd like perhaps to start discussing or introducing yourself and telling us what are you hoping to get out of this panel today.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. A pleasure to meet all of you. Well, what I hope to get out of this is to learn from the panel and from you and taking part in TechBBQ. At the Novo Nordisk Foundation, we are beginning a major sort of redirection of our funding and our granting for science, innovation, and education. We are quite Danish today, but over the coming years, I'm going to have the help of Jakob, Rob, and other colleagues here to redirect a lot of our funding to both the Nordic countries, but also to Europe, to Asia. So it's very timely for us to be talking about a Nordic-India collaboration, because we are looking to support collaboration in science and innovation also. So for us it's key to learn how we can do that. We have a presence in Delhi now, opened up a couple of years ago, a regional office there, and have excellent colleagues working to support our programs there. But looking to learn a lot on how we can support collaboration on innovation and startups between the Nordic countries and India.
Thank you. Like Søren, I hope to learn as well. Very curious to hear from both startups coming from India and from Denmark, where they see the potential and also what they need from us at the government side, on the regulatory side, to really unfold the full potential. Denmark already years back established an innovation center in Bangalore, Bengaluru. I think it's quite successful, and the fact that we have such a big crowd here today is also partly a testament to the good work they've done. But of course, we established the Innovation Center for a reason, and as you all know, you cited some stats. I think India has the world's third largest or biggest sort of startup community. And as you also hinted, the Nordic countries are among the most innovative in the world. I think all the Nordic countries are in the top 10 of most innovative economies. It's also a very big economy combined. And I think in India there's also a growing realization, or you kind of see us also as one block, which sometimes you can think is that good or bad, but actually I think it's a good thing. Because the Nordic countries are in many ways similar. We have similar economies, similar strongholds. So we also therefore offer India some of the same, let's say, value propositions. And a lot of that has to do with innovation within clean tech, within healthcare, etc. So again, I hope that we'll learn more about what we can further do from the government side to foster this bridge between the Nordics and India on innovation and startups.
Thank you, Christina, for inviting me to this panel discussion. Let me start with the basics. The India-Denmark relationships is built on Green Strategic Partnership, which was instituted in the year 2020. In that year, our trade stood at 1.3 billion. Now, after 5 years of operation and execution of Green Strategic Partnership, the trade has reaching around 5 billion. So that's the success of Green Strategic Partnership. The idea behind embassies and Government of India's involvement in TechBBQ and startup event, one of the major startup events in the Nordics, is to translate the success of Green Strategic Partnership into collaboration and cooperation between the startup ecosystems of both the countries and both the regions. As Excelsior Vendor has already said, India is 4th largest economy and 3rd largest ecosystem in terms of startups. We are also 3rd largest in terms of rank for unicorns. We have 110 unicorns. So today is the time, today is the opportune moment to give our startup visibility into the Nordic markets and let dialogue and collaboration start. So this dialogue and collaboration under the Nordic India Startup Summit, under the TechBBQ is to start the spark of dialogue between the startup ecosystem of both the countries. And we hope from the side of embassy and the side of Government of India that this spark will trigger a chain reaction and the collaboration will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wonder, Ambassador, if you can share a little bit more, this ambassador, to share a little bit more light on the Green Strategic Partnership and how that might be able to serve as a model for other things, for establishing more dynamic ecosystem between the two regions, but also if there's other global models, that could serve as a framework for that. And I know you both have information to share on that again.
On the Green Strategic Partnership, I think you want to understand this is sort of an umbrella that encapsulates the many areas where Denmark cooperates with India and ensures that it has the attention of, let's say, the highest level of the political leadership in both countries. And as such, it's been a good engine for further strengthening the bilateral relationship. I think over the past years, since it was established in 2020, we have launched so many initiatives within a wide range of sectors. Maybe there's also been an element of trial and error in that. Most things have worked out successful, but of course we're also keen now to take it to the next level. So what does a 2.0 version look like when it comes to the Green Strategic Partnership? And I think a couple of reflections on that is that some of it will be a doubling down on the more successful elements of the partnership as is. Get more scale, go deeper. But some of it will also be to venture into new areas, maybe also areas that requires different modalities in terms of cooperation, perhaps even more trust when we go into deep tech, into what we discussed today in terms of startups, innovation and so forth, because I think that's certainly one of the areas where the future lies. India has so much to offer us in the Nordic countries, not just in terms of scaling up some innovations that are done here, but also the actual innovation and tech development that takes place in India and that can be adapted to our needs here, and where we can work together on things, and vice versa. So yes, so in that sense, the strategic partnership is a framework for that, and also a way to channel both government energy, but also funding and support. But the exact models we can come back to, but some has already been developed, some will have to be developed.
And especially as the global models, like looking elsewhere in the world, what have we done that are successful?
No, thank you, Christina. I think it's very important that as a mix of the panelists also show this is the right combination. For us as a philanthropic foundation, it has been extremely important to have the Green Strategic Partnership as the framework around it, and also all the help from the embassy in India and from Ashish and colleagues here. We couldn't have done what we've done without government support, so that is extremely important, and it's very good to hear that you're thinking doubling down on a 2.0 or whatever the next framework is going to be. I think we've started, Christina, on our home turf, so to speak, for the Novo Nordisk Foundation, working with research institutions within the health space in India, with AIMS, moving into also innovation and seeking, as an institution, also getting our feet wet there with the support of government. I think what we would like to do is also to give our input to the next framework and actually to increasing the ambitions of in particular Nordic and India collaboration, also in the startup scene. We just started a smaller initiative, Healthier India, with IIT Delhi and Atal Innovation and Mission, and ideas like that is of course a smaller initiative, but within that greater framework we would like to move then also into supporting the innovation ecosystems and bridging the ecosystems of the Nordic countries and India.
Do you want to add to that, Councillor?
Of course, Green Strategic Partnership provides us with a framework and template for furthering the collaborations between the Indian side and the Danish side. And as Ambassador has said, the next review or the GSP 2.0 will be a further enhancement of the collaboration, which will enable collaboration in new areas. One of the new areas which we can think about is AI, another could be quantum computing as well as life sciences. So these areas which probably could be part of our discussion coming in future, that will give us a roadmap and a model and template for collaboration.
Thank you. Yes, because that's actually my next question, and I want the audience to also, if there are questions, just raise your hand and I will find you so we can add some questions from the audience in here too. But you raised several sectors here, but I'd like to maybe get an understanding. I mean, it's a vast opportunity here, so we can almost cover everything, right? But when we look at what sectors to focus on that are most promising between these two countries, I know we talked about green transition and climate, and it's been going on for a while, and you've been talking about initiatives in healthcare and life science, but then there's also just technology and innovation, generally speaking. And let me ask maybe perhaps you to address that. Like, how do we prioritize that?
No, I think that's actually what is the most exciting part of a strategic partnership 2.0 is to move into other areas. As you mentioned, Christina, we've done a lot of work in some of the largest grants going outside of Denmark has gone to India in the education of healthcare professionals. So we've sort of started with what we know as the Novo Nordisk Foundation. We're adding to the mix also the green transition of agriculture. We have a program of homegrown school feeding also where we try to combine our expertise, our history, also working with Danish agriculture and across the Nordic countries with India. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what we can do in areas where India is of course also the forerunners globally in AI, data science, for instance, because we are investing heavily in Denmark in those areas, but that will be very exciting to see also when we visit India in the coming years, what partnerships could be formed there.
And Councillor, if I could just add to that question, because this meeting is about startups and how we integrate them in these big initiatives. Like from your perspective, how do we best do that, both from the Indian side and from the Nordic side?
In order to answer these questions, the government of India has instituted structural frameworks to help our startups. We have DPIIT Startup India, a separate initiative which has separate funding and several separate schemes to fund and support and mentor Indian startups. So in this program, in the TechBBQ, we have 10 startups which were selected through a competitive process by Startup India. We also have a delegation led by a senior official from Startup India. we have initiatives at state level. Several Indian states, India is a federal country and state governments have their own mandate and their own government. So they also fund and support and mentor startups from their own end. Apart from this Atal Innovation Mission, a mentor is also sitting here, the Innovation Center Denmark, and in the context of bilateral cooperation between the startup units. Further, the embassy sitting here is a growth partner for the startups of the both sides, and we help and facilitate in connection between the startup ecosystems of both sides. So that's how we can help and mentor and foster long-term collaboration between the ecosystems of both sides. Thank you.
Yeah, it actually sounds like with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here and all the initiatives you do, there would be similar activities on the Danish end as well, from a government perspective.
Absolutely, and as Council said, it's a lot of it is joint. We've had joint calls with the Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology in India and the Danish counterparts. Joint research calls, so we contribute 50% of the funding. The other half comes from India. And then it's on the research side. It's also researchers from Denmark, researchers from India. I think that's a model that's proven its worth over the years, and we will definitely continue doing that. Then it's more a question of what should the calls focus on.
Yeah.
And historically, we have worked a lot on issues like water, clean energy, hydrogen, clean fuels. That's what we're doing. But of course, nothing limits us to look in other directions, and we will definitely do so. More at the sort of startup student level, we have also had success with the annual water challenge, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the fifth one that's coming up. And I think that's another good example of an initiative that allows us to stimulate tap into the startup environment, but do it in a way where it links up to some of the bigger priorities we have, and hopefully that therefore the startup scene can also contribute to this doubling down I mentioned in some of the sectors that actually works really well, whether it's in water, energy, or healthcare.
So that actually leads to sort of the more difficult question of funding mechanisms, because how do we better support the startups? So there's programs which are usually government funded or not NGO funded, but for the startups themselves, the funding mechanisms, what can we do there? And I think I'll start with you, Søren.
Well, thanks a lot. I think what we're used to doing at the Novo Nordisk Foundation, I think, has to be developed and expanded also for our work in India and across the Nordic countries, because we would do open calls of funding, have challenge programs, and for us, of course, supporting startups is actually a means to reach our goals of improving people's health and the sustainability of the planet. So if we see an area where we think this is actually where startups can find the solutions, we'll go into that space and work with their partners. But I think here we need to learn how we can do that in India. We are talking to the Nordic Council of Ministers to also establish that Nordic collaboration, and using, of course, there also the government support to hopefully create joint Nordic-India calls with funding. Because I mean, with the level of funding we'll be looking at, we need to find also partners to work with. We have 5 very skilled and hardworking colleagues at our office in Delhi, but we're going to need to find the right partners in India also, with the help of Rasmus and Ashish, and also learn from you and others how we can support the startup scene in India.
And I think it'd be interesting to take the question then to the councillor, because I just, even being here these last 2 days, I realized there's also a lot of funding going the other way, that there are partners there to engage, and maybe by engaging in the funding together, there'd also be better visibility to opportunities. So perhaps take that.
Absolutely. Funding is one of the most important topics when it comes to mentoring and supporting our startups. So funding can be done in many ways. Look, we have to think about startups, because the startups come in different shapes and sizes. Starting from an idea in some academic lab or some innovation lab to full ready for deployment technology at some TRL level 5 or 6, whatever it means. So there are different mechanisms of funding. One such thing is government level funding, which I already spoke about, the funding through Startup India, through state level funding agencies. Apart from that, Government of India has already set up ANRF, which is one of the most prominent and important funding agencies, the Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Separately, different academic institutions from the very initial level startups from their own end. Now coming to the topic of joint funding, of course, that's the need of the hour, and one of the objectives behind bringing a startup from India in this event is that they will initiate discussions and talk with prospective funders, investors, and joint funding, especially joint funding through foundations and collaboration between foundations of both sides, maybe NNF from Danish side and Tata Foundation from their side. That could also be a model to further see more funding into Indian startup ecosystem as well as vice versa. Thank you.
And maybe from that we can move on to the ambassador and tack on the regulatory framework, which is also important aside from the funding. Can you address that? For this corridor, yeah, for the year.
Sure. Needless to say, sort of the regulatory environment and also the ability to, for trade, services, innovation to flow across borders are incredibly important if you want to further stimulate the cooperation. It's also very complex. So, in that context, I would say that if you look at the world at the moment, I think what would probably be the biggest game changer is not something we can solve at a level of Denmark and India, or at the level of even India and the Nordic countries. So I think what would be the game changer there is the ongoing, for example, free trade negotiations between the European Union and India, which, as Prime Minister Modi and Commission President von der Leyen clearly stated in the spring, we hope to conclude that by the end of the year. Of course, for us here in Denmark, that would be great, because then it would happen towards the end of our EU presidency. But even if we need a few more months to wrap it up, I think that will be a real game changer. And of course, while that has to do with tariffs and many other things, it will also have a positive effect, I think, on the innovation side and on the startup side, in providing a more reliable, clear framework for how to do it. On top of that, there are other initiatives that could, come into play here. The IMEC, the sort of India, Middle East, Europe corridor. I think that's in fact almost what we're looking at, which could also be like a freeway, where if you imagine that, and then the Nordic India would be a smaller road going on the side, but still piggybacking on that freeway that could be established. So again, when it comes to these things, we probably have to look at it in a much bigger perspective.
Do you have a question?
Could I just borrow the mic for a second?
Because I think our panelists have told us that they are also here to learn. And I just really wanted to make sure that we have room for Q&As as well. But the thing is, sometimes happens in the Nordics, maybe it's very different in India, tell me, that then no one dares to be the first person. So, we have a few hands, okay, good. 3, okay, we're getting there, perfect. Just a quick note, because we want more questions. So we'll just do 1 minute where you turn around and you with the panel, you get to talk to each other. And this time we're going to talk about problems. What are the problems that I have seen founders that you've experienced yourself. I'm helping a med company who have a lead investor out of India, and they're delaying getting the money out of India, right? Which is a huge cash flow issue. So what is it of these very specific, big and small issues that we have seen? 1 minute, just quickly now. And talk to the person behind you, because you most likely know the person next to you. And then we will share these learnings afterwards.
1 minute, yeah, turn around. Ja, der er sådan lidt hvis modus der, hvor man kan det er lidt langt fra støvet olie, jeg lige kom fra. Jeg har haft et møde med
You are unstoppable, right? We can't get you to stop now. So I need you to raise your arm. Who has a specific? Okay, thank you. Great. Okay, so it feels like there's a lot of challenges that we should discuss. And I think we have the first one over here. Can you just quickly give us your name and company and of course the question?
Hi, my name is Ayush, and we train healthcare professionals in language, culture, and integration to come and be part of the developing markets where there's a shortage. My question is very specific. One, on talent mobility, how is the government and the foundations looking at that? And second, especially in healthcare, because we are currently working with the Ministry of Health in Germany and with a lot of healthcare providers in Germany to train people in Brazil, India, Philippines, North Africa in language, culture, and integration using AI. So we are building tools to upgrade them so that they can best integrate here. How can we be part, as a startup, be part of, let's say, the foundation's efforts or the embassy efforts to build that program for the Nordic countries as well?
Good question. I think that's for Novo and for you as well. So, yeah, I guess we ran out.
Thanks, Christine. We ran out of microphones. Well, as mentioned, the work we have done over several years as the Novo Nordisk Foundation in India has been to begin with a large program on educating healthcare professionals, working also to connect public research and education institutions in Denmark with Indian collaboration and partners, also looking at curriculum and the integration of knowledge on cardiometabolic disease in the curriculum of nursing education. So I think I would encourage you to take a look at that, because our goal is to create a foundation what then hopefully become something that can be expanded, working in several states in India, but hopefully also we're able to reach a national scale at some point. So that would be ideal, and as I was just discussing with the ambassador also, we are of course also talking to our Novo Holdings colleagues that are based in Mumbai, and they of course do later stage investments there also, but we inform each other as we would with any other investor interested in the health space as well.
Do you want to speak to what the Danish government can do, just like with the German one?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope people have noticed that the Danish government is definitely interested in attracting talent from India. That's why we entered into a mobility agreement with India just last year. So that's the reason for that. I think the numbers also speak for themselves in the sense that Indians are among the fastest growing migrant communities in Denmark, and they're doing extremely well. The average Indian person in Denmark, makes more on average than any other foreigner here. In fact, they make more than the average Dane. So, needless to say, it's talent that counts, and we're very happy about that. On top of that, we have some more focused interventions where we're interested in some, let's say, more specific, for example, healthcare professions that will require, exactly as you mentioned, targeted education and competence development in India before people come. But that's on top of the more general talent attraction that takes place. So yes.
Thank you.
And let's either take another question or a really short.
Yeah, short answer, because we would love to have just two more questions.
Just two more questions.
And the minister is waiting, so we need to speed up.
Then let me add. You spoke about education of healthcare professionals. I think the next logical question would be, how do you let them move and let them join the workforce in Denmark? So for that, as Ambassador has already said, we have a mobility agreement, labor mobility agreement, which was signed in the February of 2024. Both sides are under discussion. There is a joint working group led by Secretary Labor officers. So we are in talk for the implementation. And once the implementation steps go further, there will be, and Ambassador may agree with me that the healthcare professionals will come and join the workforce here. Thank you.
Our next question.
Thank you. Sanjit Ahuja, I'm MD CEO of Bharatiya. We've gotten off to a great start with Denmark on the Green Partnerships deal, 15 projects already identified for Danish companies. But my question to Ambassador and Soren, the India-Nordic Summit should happen in the next few months. What do you think should be the ambition, given now we still have a few more months to go? What should happen from the Indian side, and what should the ambition from a Nordic perspective between India and the Nordic nations should be?
On the India-Nordic summit, as you all know, it should have taken place in May this year. It didn't, for reasons we all know. But I think there's high hopes on both sides that we can plan the summit soon. And again, what should be the ambition? I think the ambition should be, as it also was in May, to further strengthen relations between India and the Nordic countries, including really focus on the areas where the Nordic countries as a whole has something unique to offer India and vice versa. And what we're discussing today is certainly one of those areas.
No, I think I would add it would be extremely inspiring to have also that Nordic platform as a part of it. So the Green Strategic Partnership was excellent for what we do as a Danish philanthropic foundation, but to have a platform to work with our Nordic colleagues and engaging working with India would be extremely important for us.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention one additional maybe query or a suggestion. The key focus areas that should be very key for the collaboration would be biosolution space, and throughout the panel discussions I have seen since morning, that was not touched. But it's India is the biggest source of sugar and so much carbon source, and that is the very strategic where, especially thanks to Novo Nordisk Foundation, a lot of technology has been built up in the past 5-10 years. We have the best companies here. So there is a good scope, and that it is something we should, would be nice to have this joint discussion on. Thank you.
Agri-tech, and maybe also with part of the Novo organization is in India. Do you want to speak to a group?
Yeah, just very briefly. Novo Biosolution is very close to heart for the Novo Nordisk Foundation. So our focus and our strategic key focus on the green transition of agriculture is of course why we are so interested in biosolutions, both supporting science and innovation in that space, so it would be excellent to have that included as well.
Can I hear something?
I'll just say agree.
I'll say Sanjit is the key person. He was the person who asked the previous question. So he had come up with open call in the game sector, which includes biosolutions. So you may like to contact him.
Thank you so much. I know that we're wanting to wrap up, and I want to thank each of you for your time and for us to have a conversation following this. So thank you so much.
Thanks for watching Indiavision. Please subscribe to keep updated on any new videos that we release, and give us a thumbs up with your comments if you've liked this video.